You finally hit the number you swore would change everything. $600 a month going straight to savings. But 6 months later, nothing feels different. Your life looks the same, your stress is basically the same, and the only reward is a bigger number in an account you're not allowed to touch without feeling guilty. And what messes with your head is the math looks impressive. $600 a month is $7,200 a year. In 3 years, that's over $21,000. You should feel like a different person. Instead, you're still saying no to stuff, still checking your balance before you book a flight, still doing that weird mental calculation in your head when a friend suggests a weekend trip. Here's the thing. This is the phase of money that feels pointless. You're not broke, but you're not free. You're doing all the right habits, auto transfer on payday, boring index fund, emergency fund, yet day-to-day life doesn't get better. So your brain starts whispering, why am I even doing this? So you do what a lot of smart people do. You start bargaining with yourself. Maybe I'll pause investing until I feel caught up. Maybe I'll just use the emergency fund for this one thing and rebuild it later. Maybe I deserve a nicer apartment because I'm working hard. And the scary part is, you can justify all of it with numbers that sound reasonable. Here's what nobody talks about. The early wins of money are visible. Paying off a card, getting out of overdraft, replacing a busted laptop without panic. But the next stage is invisible on purpose. It's not designed to feel good. It's designed to make you unbreakable. But here's where it gets dangerous. When progress stops feeling like progress, people start manufacturing progress by upgrading their lifestyle, because at least that produces a feeling. And you can blow a $600 per month savings habit without a single bad decision. It's just a slightly nicer lease, a slightly bigger car payment, a couple subscriptions you don't notice, and a "we should travel while we're young" year. I call this the pointless phase mirage, the period where your money is working, but your emotions don't get the memo. My name is Ben, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, psychology, and why doing well can still feel like you're stuck. Hit like and subscribe, it helps me create more videos like this. Now, before we dive into tactics, let me show you why this matters. This pointless phase is the exact stretch where people either quietly build real leverage or they reset the clock on their future without realizing it. You're doing everything right, and the only reward you get is a slightly larger number on a dashboard you don't even open anymore. Like, you log into your 401k on a random Tuesday, see it's up $480 since last month, and your brain goes, cool. Not excited, not relieved, just numb. Because $480 doesn't change your Thursday. Or you get your annual raise, say it's 4%, and after taxes, your paycheck is up about $110 every 2 weeks, and instead of feeling richer, you immediately notice the rent renewal is up $95, your car insurance is up $18, and your streaming apps quietly became $67 a month because you added no ads versions one by one. So you did better on paper, and your life stayed the same. Then there's the responsible win that somehow feels like a loss. You finally have a real emergency fund, but you won't touch it. Your dog needs a $900 dental cleaning, and you're like, we can wait a month, even though you literally built this fund for stuff like this, because pulling money out feels like going backward, even when it's the exact point of the money. And it gets weirder when you start doing the math and it still doesn't motivate you. You're investing $450 a month. That's $5,400 a year. After 2 years, you've put in $10,800. You check the account, and it's like $12,300 because the market had a decent run. And your brain goes, so all that discipline for a number that doesn't buy me a different life? Here's what nobody talks about. This is the phase where money stops being a crisis and starts being a system. And systems are boring. There's no "I'm saved" moment. There's just fewer emergencies, fewer spikes, fewer adrenaline hits. Your finances get quieter, and your emotions interpret quiet as nothing is happening. Let me show you why this matters. When your progress gets boring, you start chasing visible proof. That's when people accidentally create new fixed costs, because fixed costs feel like a reward. A $42 per month gym becomes a $189 per month boutique gym. A paid-off phone becomes a $68 per month upgrade plan because it's only $68. A normal car becomes just $140 more a month because you can afford it now. But here's where it gets interesting. The pointless phase is when the timeline bends. The first thing that changes is your margin, your ability to absorb hits without your life exploding. And margin doesn't feel like winning until the day you need it. The first thing that changes is you stop buying stuff and start buying options. The option to quit a bad job without panic. The option to say no to a sketchy loan. The option to handle a $1,700 surprise without calling 3 people and rearranging your entire month. The pointless phase feels pointless because the benefit is invisible, right up until it isn't. There's also something fascinating that happens when your money gets quiet. Your brain loses the scoreboard. When the emergencies stop and the balance slowly climbs, you don't get that clean hit of relief anymore. So it starts feeling like you're doing all this work for nothing. Here's a concrete version. Say you're auto-transferring $275 every payday into a separate account labeled Buffer. It takes you 4 months to get it to $2,200. And emotionally, it feels identical to having $0 because you didn't buy anything, nobody clapped, and your life looks the same on a Tuesday. Then a very specific thing happens. Your decision-making gets cheaper, not in dollars, mentally. Your roommate says the lease renewal is going up and you need $900 by next Friday to lock it in. Old you would have stalled, negotiated, maybe floated it on a card and spent the next 6 weeks stressed. Buffer you just moves $900 and the problem dies in 10 minutes. The win isn't the $900. The win is the week of your life you didn't donate to anxiety. This shift might seem small, but it has ripple effects. You stop paying panic fees. You stop choosing the fastest option because you're scared. You can buy the plane ticket 3 weeks earlier instead of 2 days earlier because you're not waiting to see if your account survives. If that price difference is, say, $160 each time, and you do that 4 times a year, that's $640 you didn't lose to last-minute desperation without making more money. But here's where it gets dangerous, because once you have margin, you start getting offers and they're disguised as you deserve it now. A recruiter pings you about a role that pays $8,000 more, but the commute is longer and you'd need to be in office 3 days a week. In the pointless phase, people say yes because the raise is visible and the trade is invisible. The real math is $8,000 gross might be $5,200 after tax. And if commuting adds $110 a week between transit, parking, and random meals, that's $5,720 a year. You just took a pay cut and called it a glow-up. Here's what nobody talks about. This phase is when you're building refusal power. The ability to say, no, I'm not taking the 11% financing because I'm impatient. Or no, I'm not keeping a subscription stack that totals $97 a month because canceling feels like going backwards. The pointless phase is where you practice being slightly underimpressed on purpose. Let me show you why this matters. The goal isn't to feel rich, it's to stop being forced. When your money is quiet, you can wait, compare, negotiate, switch providers, walk away, and pick timing that favors you. And that's the mechanism. Boring progress converts into leverage, and leverage is the thing that finally makes money feel real. Here's something that might blow your mind. In the pointless phase, the money isn't supposed to change your life yet. It's supposed to change your pricing. Not what things cost in the world, what things cost you, because you're no longer paying panic premiums. Let's do some uncomfortable math. Say you keep a boring $800 buffer that you refuse to touch unless it's a real problem. That doesn't buy you a new personality, but it can erase a whole category of fees. If you avoid just 2 I need it now moves in a year, like a $240 same-week appointment fee plus a $180 rush shipping situation, that's $420 saved without budgeting harder. Do that for 5 years and you've bought back $2,100 of your own time tax. Now zoom in on the sneaky one-time power with bills. A lot of people get hit with an annual renewal and pay monthly because it feels smaller. But if the yearly option is $590 and the monthly is $59, that's $708 a year. Your buffer is basically buying you the ability to pick the $590 option. That's $118 saved every year for one single decision. Multiply that across three things you probably have, some software you use for work, a membership, insurance, and you're suddenly looking at $300, $500 a year just for being able to pay up front. Here's where it gets interesting. The pointless phase also makes negotiating actually work. Not "I read a script online" work. Real leverage. If you can float 1 month without the contract, you can say, "I'm canceling unless you match the new customer rate." Even a modest drop, like $92.74 on an internet plan, saves $18 a month, $216 a year. That's not sexy, but it's permanent until you change it again. But here's where it gets dangerous. People in this phase see an extra $250 a month and immediately upgrade their fixed costs. They turn flexible money into a lease, a payment plan, a starter luxury apartment add-on. That $250 doesn't feel like anything until it's locked in for 24 months. That's $6,000 of future breathing room you just sold for a vibe. Contrast two people making $4,700 take home. One keeps $200 a month flexible and builds a $2,400 mini runway in a year. The other commits that same $200 to monthly payments. Same income, same discipline, totally different reality when life gets annoying. Let me show you why this matters. The most significant change isn't the dollars, it's that you stop needing to say yes immediately, and your calendar stops being controlled by whoever can pressure you fastest. Here's what nobody talks about. The pointless phase is when your money stops changing your lifestyle, but starts changing your decisions. You don't feel richer on a random Wednesday, you just quietly become harder to rush, harder to upsell, and harder to trap. First thing that changes, you stop paying for speed you didn't choose. Your phone screen cracks and the repair shop offers express for $189 today or $119 next Thursday. Pointless phase use says next Thursday is fine. That's not about toughness. It's because you're not buying urgency with money anymore. Urgency is optional. Second thing, you stop letting small bills dictate big choices. Your auto insurance renewal jumps from $142 to $176 a month. Old you would sigh and accept it because switching is annoying and you're busy. Pointless phase, you spend 25 minutes getting two quotes and lands at $138. That's $38 saved every month, $456 a year. Without changing your car, your commute, or your personality. The money still feels pointless day to day, but it permanently lowers the floor of your expenses. Third thing, your calendar stops being a hostage. Your dentist has an opening tomorrow at 2:30, pages. If you pay a $75 same-week scheduling fee, if you can wait 3 weeks, it's normal price. In the pointless phase, you wait, and that sounds small until you realize how often life tries to charge you for right now. Fourth thing, you can choose the boring option that compounds. You're booking a work trip, and the refundable hotel is $212 a night. The non-refundable is $179. If you might need to change dates, the refundable one is cheaper, in reality. Because you're not gambling, 2 nights is a $66 difference, but one forced change later, the non-refundable becomes $358 of wasted money. The pointless phase is when you stop making hope part of your budget. The psychological shift is simple. You start acting like a person who can absorb friction. You answer emails slower. You read the fine print. You say, "I'll get back to you tomorrow," and you mean it. Most people think this is about being calm. They're wrong. It's about having enough margin that you don't have to convert every inconvenience into a financial emergency. And the capability factor is real. You start running small experiments. You try a different bank, cancel 2 subscriptions, test a cheaper phone plan for 1 month. Because failure won't wreck you. That's how competence builds, low-stakes reps. But let's address the elephant in the room. This phase still feels underwhelming. You're doing all this work, and the reward isn't a new life. It's fewer traps. And that's exactly why people quit, right here. So how do you actually get through this phase without quitting? The objection is real. It feels like you're grinding for a bunch of tiny wins that nobody claps for. The good news is, the pointless phase isn't save until you're rich. It's save until you stop being forced into dumb choices. That target is way smaller than people think. Here's what nobody talks about. You don't need a perfect budget. You need a friction fund that's designed for boring problems. Timing gaps, non-refundable fees, deposits, co-pays, and the random pay it today or it gets more expensive stuff. Your first goal is not 6 months of expenses. Your first goal is a clean $600 that you promise not to touch for anything except preventing a penalty. The key is to pick one category of friction you keep paying for and build a wall around it. If your life keeps hitting you with scheduling penalties and last-minute fixes, your wall is cash on hand. If your life hits you with annual bills, your wall is a sinking fund. Don't do 10 walls, do one. Start concrete. Open a separate account and name it friction. Set an auto transfer for $25 every Monday. Then do one annoying audit. Pull the last 60 days of transactions and highlight every fee, rush charge, interest charge, or oops subscription. Not the purchases, the penalties. Those are your leaks. But here's where it gets dangerous. Most people try to fund the friction account by being good next month. That's a fantasy. Funded by canceling painlessly, not by suffering. Example, you find 3 quiet leaks, $14.99 for a tool you used once, $9.99 for an old streaming add-on, and a $12 device protection plan on a tablet you don't even carry. That's $36.07 a month. Let me show you why this matters. $36.07 a month is about $8.50 a week. Combine that with the $25 Monday transfer and you're at roughly $33.50 a week. In 18 weeks, you're sitting on about $600. Not magic, just math and consistency. The first $600 is the hardest because you're still living in one surprise ruins me territory. But once you've hit it, you stop rating your checking account for every little hit, and your whole system gets calmer. The next milestone is $1,500 because that's where deposits and timing gaps stop controlling your calendar. At the same $33.50 a week, that's roughly 45 weeks total from zero. Less if you redirect one more leak or sell one unused item and drop $120 into the fund. Realistically, it's not effortless. You'll have weeks where the transfer bounces and you feel dumb. Fix it and keep going. The difference usually comes down to one factor: whether you automate the win before your willpower wakes up and negotiates it away. So there you have it. The pointless phase of money isn't about getting rich or finally buying cooler stuff. It's the stretch where your savings doesn't change your lifestyle yet, but it quietly starts removing penalties from your life. Most people think the hardest part is earning more. They're wrong. The hardest part is staying consistent while the progress feels invisible, because the payoff shows up as options, not fireworks. But here's where it gets dangerous. This is the exact phase where people sabotage themselves by rewarding the boredom. They dip into the fund for a weekend, then a temporary payment plan. Then suddenly they're right back to timing their life around payday. Here's what nobody talks about. The first real win isn't the balance. It's the moment you can say, no, I'm not doing same-day shipping. Or no, I'm not paying the reschedule fee. Or no, I'm not floating this on a card because my check clears Thursday. Those are tiny decisions, but they stack into a system that doesn't punish you for being human. If you're currently in that annoying middle where you've got a little saved but it still feels like nothing, don't panic. Keep the transfers automatic, keep the fun boring, and give yourself one job: don't break the streak. If you want a next move, pick one timing expense you can stop paying extra for: late fees, rush fees, minimum payment interest, and aim your buffer at that target. The pointless phase isn't pointless. It's you buying back your calendar one boring week at a time. If this helped, subscribe. More videos like this coming.